Hi guys, and welcome back. Today I'm doing a character design, and the reason why I'm so excited about this is because it's actually for a theme and a group, and the group is actually the character design challenge, and that's what it's called. But it's a group on Facebook and anyone can join, and I'll have a link down in the description where you can look at it if you don't know what it is. But it's this really cool group of artists where they come out with a monthly theme of a type of character, and then everyone who's a member can design a character based on that concept and that idea, and everyone puts it on that page so you can look through and see all of the different interpretations of that one singular theme. And it is such a cool idea. I love that it's something that everyone can come together and you can see that thread of similarity where it's all based on a theme and it's all based on a character design, but you can see where all the different artists, how their style comes through, how their innovation comes out, and how people make these different creative ideas come. And I love that idea. I love this group so much, and I found them maybe about a year ago. And towards the end of last year, I was starting to realize that I really wanted to participate because mostly I've just been looking at it. I've been seeing what other people design, but I hadn't done any myself. I hadn't participated. So at the end of last month, I decided, okay, I need to make it happen. But as things usually go, I kept kind of pushing it off and not quite doing it. And I decided at the beginning of last month, December, that I absolutely needed to make it happen this month. So I wrote it on my calendar and I made sure that I had a day set aside where that was the day that it's going to happen, and that's the day that I'm going to release a video for it. And that was extremely helpful in making sure that I actually followed through and that it happened. But so basically I am really excited to be able to be starting off with this first in hopefully a long line of character designs that I do for this group, because it really does push you to think more about the design itself. When I was looking at this, there are just so many cool ideas on here that I wanted to make sure that mine had kind of a spark of what I wanted to show. And honestly, I don't feel like I really got that like super unique element to this design. So I'm really looking forward to the future ones because I think that I'll get better at that, picking out that really unique element in the design so that it really stands out. But the design challenge for this month was actually one that I wasn't super into, which it's kind of funny because the last several months they were just really, really exciting. They're ones that I thought were really cool and I didn't participate. So the month that I'm finally like making sure that I do it, it has to of course be a month that I'm not that interested in it. But the theme is actually hippies. So yeah, if any of you guys are interested in designing a hippie, you should absolutely do it and put it up there. That'd be really cool. But for me, this one just did not like ring true to what I cared about drawing, but I kind of like that because it forced me to be a little bit more analytical as far as what is the theme, what are the elements that make it true to that theme so that I'm not varying so far that it's no longer relevant. But how can I make this into a character that I still love, even though it's fitting in a theme that I don't particularly care for or associate with? So that was really kind of interesting because it did add another element to the challenge where I did have to think, where can I toe the line for this one? So when I was thinking about hippies and the design, I was looking a lot at the designs that other people did. I was also doing a lot of reference finding on Pinterest as usual. So I was looking up a lot of cool clothing ideas. And that's really where I started getting kind of this vibe of either there's like the bohemian flower child kind of that side of hippieism, and then there was a lot of like drug, dirty hippie kind of side. And I kind of wanted to go more with something that felt a little bit more ethereal. Those are the designs that I felt that I was gravitating more towards when I was looking at what other people had done. So that gave me a good like jumping off point of like the mood at least, or the atmosphere that I wanted to create for this character and how I wanted her personality to be. So once I kind of got that, like that's the side of hippies that I wanted to do, and I wanted to make this character fit that side of it, it was a lot more exciting because it did feel a little bit more like it kind of had a figure and an angle of where I wanted to go with it. But a little bit about the painting process and what's happening right now. This is one of my favorite parts actually of this piece, is when I'm detailing her skin. I had a lot of fun going in here and just giving it a little bit more like texture and life to it. I wanted her to look a little bit sunburned, like she's just a little bit toasted from being out in the sun a long time and picking flowers and being part of nature. So that was one element that I really wanted to show with her. I wanted to show the plants that she had with her, and also that element of her skin being kind of sunburned. So I really loved going in there, and I love adding like little details like that, just give a little bit more of a hint of realism. And this was really fun to do. So I did go in with like a little bit darker and a little bit redder of a color, and I gently blended that into the high points of her face and her shoulders and the tops of her arms where the sun would hit the most. And then I went in with an even more saturated and slightly lighter red, just to give it just a little bit of an edge to that burn that I went inside of that warmer red color. So I layered that first, and then I went in even a smaller layer inside of that. And this is all on like the same skin layer, just to be clear, is that I was going in and just blending it on top of that. And then I went in and I added freckles, and that was the funnest part for me. The thing about doing freckles when you want them to look like they've occurred from the sun is to focus them mostly around where the sun is hitting, just like how you would a sunburn. So around the cheeks and across the nose is the area that you'll get the most concentration of freckles. And then on top of your shoulders is a big one, or on top of your arms. So I just had a lot of fun thinking through how I wanted her skin to look and how I wanted it to represent who she was as a character. And I felt like I could tell a lot with it in just that one small element. And one of the things, there are several like criteria of how to design your character for when you're submitting. And a lot of people don't really follow all of the rules, but one of the main ones is that it needs to be, well, the first definite main one is that it has to be the full character, so you have to have from head to toe. And it's also, you shouldn't have a background, or if you do have a background, it has to be super minimal. The focus is on the character itself. So when I was doing her shadows, I wanted to hint a little bit at like she might be in an environment, like there could be a little bit more of an interaction with the real world without actually going in there and drawing an environment around her. So the one thing that I did to really push that was I showed some cast shadows. I first did one from where her arm would be, and I really liked how much space it gave it. It gave it a lot of depth very, very quickly, and I love stuff like that where once you put it down, it immediately adds more depth and more life to it and more realism to it. So once I added that cast shadow from her own arm, I knew that I wanted to add a few more of those to really ground her into this environment that isn't actually there. But I did go in after I had finished filling in all of the cast shadows from like her clothing, where it would cast onto the other areas of her clothing. After I finished all of that in there, I went in and I did just 2 strokes across her dress, where I added like there would be like a branch or something almost casting these shadows on it, and it just followed the contours of the dress itself. And I really love that effect. It really did ground her out. It made her look a lot more realistic and a lot more interest to it with such a small little element. So I think that's a trick that I definitely want to use a lot more. Even in my traditional stuff, this is one that would be really easy to enact. And I know that I've been wanting to do a lot more with shadows, because it does really give a lot of information to a piece without really needing to actually put it in a very refined way. And towards the end, I started feeling a little bit unsure as far as what I wanted to do with her hair. I did have it pretty much complete, where I had it where it's like green towards the root and it faded into more of like a pinky pastel color, kind of like what's in her flowers. And the reason I had it that way is because I liked that it was kind of connecting with the plant colors, and then the end was a little bit like the flower color. But I ended up deciding to go back to a more natural hair color. And the reason for that is simply it felt like it was unbalanced with the bottom of her dress. So when her hair was mostly green, it was really connecting with the plants in her basket, so it felt very top heavy. The colors were grouped at the top, but the blue at the bottom was very isolated and didn't have a connection. And when I went in with the more natural blonde color, since it's kind of the complement of the blue color at the bottom, as well as it being the only color like that, just like the blue is and it's isolated down there, it really just gave it enough variety so that the top wasn't being grouped all together and there was that contrast between the bottom and the top of her design. So overall, it felt a lot more like it was flowing the way that I wanted it to. And that is pretty much it for today's video. I love working on character design. I know I've mentioned it in the past couple ones, and I do have a character design series going on, but it just feels good to get back into just designing characters. So I'm really glad that I finally actually did the prompt this month and did this challenge. It definitely challenged me because it was a theme that I wasn't immediately like, oh, I have all of these ideas. So it was great actually because it wasn't what I was super into from the beginning. So yeah, I really like that. But like I mentioned, I'll have a link down in the description where you can check out this Facebook group and maybe even join and submit stuff. It's really cool. It's great to look at all the other artists that do it. But yeah, if you want to be able to support me, I do have a link down in the description to my art shop as well as at my end card. But yeah, that is it for today. So I will see you guys at my next video.